Hi everyone, Sean Healy, change agent and relationship consultant here. You're watching the Relationship Resourcing Series. This is a series designed to look at what works in relationships in business and relationships on the home front. So, welcome to this episode entitled, I Thought We'd Always Be Together. I thought I'd do this particular episode because so much is changing on the relationship frontier. So many paradigms that, the relationships that previous generations had are starting to change radically. The kinds of relationship expectations that we have at present and compared to what is emerging on the horizon. Look, I find it absolutely fascinating. I'm very curious by it, and I find it also somewhat disturbing in certain areas. I was the kind of person who very much had the romantic ideal that I would grow up, I'd find that one amazing person. I come from a family system where my parents, have been married for 50 plus years. So that's my kind of framework for relational success. And I think with the kinds of paradigms that are emerging and the shifts in general thinking as a culture, we have to start shifting some of our expectations as to what constitutes success and failure in relationship. Because for many adults, we are much more likely to have 2 or 3 significant relationships, much more likely to be married multiple times than previous generations. And so we have to be starting to look at what is working in relationship and what isn't. And funnily enough, even processes for entering relationship, processes for exiting relationship. And I think this has ramifications right down to the way we set up our finances, with the awareness that that inevitably, this might not end up being my for life partner. Am I saying that there won't be people who partner up and stay with the same person for life? There's certainly still going to be that, but we have to recognize that the relationship dynamic is becoming more transient with the emergence of a more individualized, happiness first based cultural thinking in many parts of the planet. This means that I might not have been unhappy with you, but I still might leave you because I'm not as happy as I could be, or because I feel that I've lost part of myself, and so I'm going to make a choices that make me feel more alive again. So what we're going to see is lots more transitory movement in relationship. And if we're falling under the illusion that our relationships are more stable than we think, then this actually can be quite detrimental. It's realizing that we choose our partner day to day and that they choose us. And I think that happens to be something that just helps us to not get too mundane, to not get too ho-hum and blasé about the person that we're supposed to care about most in life. What we're finding is, and a lot of the people that I deal with who are entrepreneurs, there's so much demand to put on the public face. We're talking to customers, we're delivering on our social media requirements, we've got our online side of our business, we've got our offline side of our business, we've got children to manage, we've got friendships to keep, we've got relationships with business partners and family dynamics to manage. All of these things really mean that we've got so many demands on our attention, pulling us away from some of the central core important things. And it can be very easy sometimes for us to forget to remember to show our best to our partner. Our partner ends up getting our leftovers. Our relationship comes to be the place where we just switch off and crash. And if we're forgetting to do the things we did when we first started in relationship, where we were flooded with admiration and excitement for another, there was the sense of desire and eroticism, and we couldn't do enough. for our partner. We couldn't wait to see our partner. We couldn't. Now, of course, that's going to mute down a bit, but we still need to invest in that. It's understanding that a relationship has a stability or comfort side, and then it has its desire and erotic side. And the two of those things require very different strategies. To be comfortable and stable means we need to know each other. We have to have a level of familiarity. We've entered into some form of overt or covert agreement that says we're going to be together. And what I want is stability and consistency and dependency in your behavior. However, that does not foster eroticism, which flourishes on wanting, on mystery, on novelty, and on adventure. And it's our ability to find a way as best as we can to navigate both of those pathways going forward. Because in modern relationship, there is more demand from people that both of these bridges end up being attended to and addressed on a consistent basis. Otherwise, it's never been easier to distract and walk away. If we're finding that with more and more, it's not just people who are unhappy in relationship who end up straying. And often, in some cases, people who end up having affairs are people who never themselves believed that they would. But consistently over time, if we find we're denying our needs, if we're muting ourselves down to cater for everybody else, there's the demands of life. And we find that bit by bit, part of us just gets pushed down and dulled and nullified. And then suddenly somebody comes along who we perceive offers us a chance to awaken and reinvigorate a part of us, because, part of eroticism is about life force. And so suddenly there's this external representation in the form of another that triggers and reawakens the things that we feel like we've lost. And until they appeared, we weren't even aware, because it happened so slowly, that these things died in us. So we have to be aware that a consequence of modern relationship is we are attending to the romance, we are attending to the passion, we're attending to the novelty, we're showing up and bringing our best self to the relationship as much as we can. Yes, of course, a relationship is a place where stability and nurture and sitting around in PJs and wearing our daggies and just watching videos and chilling out under a blanket. Absolutely, there's a place for that. But we can't think that our relationship is going to survive if we're just doing all that and we're not bringing our attentiveness to our partner. We're not reaffirming to our partner how special we see that they are. We're not, we're not taking what really helps. And again, it's no guarantee, but what helps is we're taking the time to show our partner how much we appreciate them, how much we acknowledge their specialness, how much we adore them. We're taking time to do the things that we used to find effortless at the start of the relationship. It's funny how those things worked so well at the beginning, and then somehow we stopped doing them because we fall into the trap of stability where we think, now you're just meant to put up with me however I show up. It just doesn't work like that. It may have in generations gone by. It wasn't that those generations didn't have the same desires, but they also didn't have the permission to act upon them. And as we're finding more and more that women have permission and license to behave more the way men have been getting away with for generations and centuries even, we are going to find, guys, we are going to have to lift our game like you wouldn't believe. Because we won't be able to get away with phoning it in anymore. It just simply won't be tolerated. Women will have a different expectation, and rightly so. We're already seeing this paradigm, the talk about the emergence of the pink economy, where women will more and more are taking over senior positions, and what we're going to find that goes with that is a standard and a requirement in relationship where, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to be more attentive. We're going to have to be more emotionally aware as men. and we're going to have to expand. We can't just put our head in the sand and ignore that, and hold on to fiercely outdated paradigms. And the quicker we can start to make those changes, the more, like I said, the idea that we don't own somebody else and they don't owe us. I think, and a recognition of just how fragile and transient relationships can be. I actually think that awareness adds to stability, doesn't take away from it. And so it's just so important that we're recognizing that we need to be able to bring our best self forward. And even then, it's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that our relationships are going to go the distance. But again, if we're managing our own emotionality in that, if we're taking care of self, then there's that, and there's an understanding that more and more relationships are likely to be periods of time with another where there's a period of growth and development, and there's also an awareness that there could potentially be an expiration date. We are together, we can love each other deeply, we can journey and grow together, but we're not necessarily, when that relationship runs its course, going to see ourselves as absolute failures, rather than taking away the lessons that we had in that time with that person, and we're able to move on without carrying the resentment and wounds into the next relationship. Because that's the other thing that's going to slow us down. If we're holding on to the belief of looking for the one, hey, that's what we'd absolutely like, but the reality is that there's the possibility that something else may happen. What this means is we're not, this helps us to not carry wounds and an idea of failure into the next relationship, and then we relate to the next person through the ghosts of the relationship past. And so we can overreact to certain things because we associate that behavior. When the previous person did that, it meant this, rather than when we're able to show up in a clean sense of newness and ready to just give this relationship an opportunity on its merits, then we far more ensure the chance that we can succeed. So we have to be recognizing that what we're seeing as an overall trend is relationships are going to become more transient. What we're going to need in order to support that is healthy education around what works in terms of functional behavior in relationships. We're going to have better understanding of how to begin relationships from a healthy place, and then also how to end them from a healthy place so that we're not carrying resentment forward. There's so much that can be said about this particular topic. I'm particularly inspired. There's many people who I think are absolutely astounding in this arena and leading the way. But two people I want to make particular mention to: Esther Perel, the profound couples therapist, has written some amazing books. State of Affairs and Mating in Captivity. I really think that she's got her finger on the pulse of the different relationships dynamics that are emerging and the kinds of complexities we're facing in modern relationships. We'll talk more about some of those as the series goes on. But I really think and would encourage you to explore and take a good look at her work if you really want to have some good tools for understanding. Like I said, many people to mention here, but somebody else I would certainly give acknowledgement to is the author of Passionate Marriage, Dr. David Snarch. I think his work on how to define ourselves as an individual without costing our connectedness to others is, again, really sort of seminal and powerful work. And we'll visit with some of his concepts and the origins of those as the series goes on. So I hope that you found this episode thought-provoking. Like I said, the best way to kind of ensure that we're giving our relationship the best chance, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do, but one of them is we make sure that we're taking time to invest our energy and our passion and our enthusiasm and our desire and our aliveness back into the relationship where we can. And I understand that sometimes it's just grabbing fleeting moments, even if it's just a lunch date, but it's just those little injections of energy and passion back into the relationship that really go a long way to helping you and your partner be in wondrous relationship, but still connected to your aliveness and your eroticism. So thank you for watching the episode. Like I said, I hope you found it to be thought-provoking and helpful. If you've been watching this series and you've subscribed to the Sean Healy Relationship Resourcing Series, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, please, we would be delighted if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join us on the journey. Also, you can follow me. I've got a podcast series, Sean Healy Tools, available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean. We look very much, Sean Healy Tools is again, same kind of focus, looking at providing relationship tools that work. And then of course, emergencetraining.com.au is the website. Stop by, visit, have a look at what we've got there. We'll continue to be adding resources to the site that you can utilize. And if you want to leave any suggestions of episodes you'd like me to do, more than happy to continue to put episodes forward that are viewer and listener inspired. And I also just want to make brief mention that I do work privately with individuals around their relational dynamics and how to get those really working in a way that really supports you, both in work and home environments. I do in-house trainings for businesses around the people, culture, and business, and public trainings too. So thank you again. Until we see you on the next episode, bye for now.